time with one of the applications. Okay, so I think I can't see what the time is.
22.
22, that's fine. Okay, to record any apologies for absence.
Oh.
Any apologies for absence? No.
The late name cook has arrived.
That's all right, yeah.
Yes.
To receive any declarations of interest, personal or prejudicial by members?
No.
No? Comments and questions from members of the public present relating to items on the agenda. This is the planning agenda. Any questions?
Yes.
Yes, Susie.
Yes. The next item, it's about item 5, it's the minutes. The planning meeting of March 2025 was, the agenda for the planning meeting was not publicised to the public. I believe, following some correspondence with the top officer, that an agenda was circulated to the councillors, but it was not published on any on social media or on the notice boards. If notice of a meeting, the agenda for the meeting is not published in public, the meeting is not a parish council meeting, it's not an official meeting, therefore you can't have any minutes that are signed officially.
Give it a rest, will you?
Excuse me.
Whoa, excuse me, I'm the chair.
Sorry.
Thank you. And
Apologies.
It's accepted. This is a parish council meeting held in public. The public have a right to make a comment as they so wish. Please continue as if you have
Well,
some.
I think it is a procedural issue, I fully accept that, but I think it is an important issue that the public, the residents, are aware of any parish council meetings where decisions may be made. Therefore, I contend that the minutes of the March meeting are not official and therefore cannot be signed and go on the official record.
Okay, point noted. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes.
Sorry, yeah, sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Item D regarding the former market garden.
Oh yes.
Not really a question, but just a note that I emailed you over the bank holiday, so apologies it was very late notice, but to suggest that the parish council might like to meet with village people to have a full briefing on all the outstanding planning related issues regarding market garden.
What did parish council think?
I think we should continue to show our support and go to a meeting, or at least some of us.
Okay.
They can report back to the
Would you like to talk to the clerk, arrange a date,
Yeah,
and
lovely.
we'll sort something out, yeah?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No, okay, fine, then we'll continue. Can you clarify point 5 later at some stage?
Yeah.
Okay. I won't be signing the minutes of the March 2025 minutes until they're clarified by the clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you. To consider application referred by rather council. Right. Barnhouse. It's been called in by. I can't see Andrew here. It's been called in by Andrew. He's concerned that he would like to make sure that the application follows the policies and rules laid down by Rother Council. Is this what he said? Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not the one that relates to Barnhouse. So there's not a lot we can do about that, really. They did say that it was a bit close to the NL land, but as I don't know what NL land is, and I was hoping Andrew was going to be here to tell us, we won't do anything about that. Right, C, 44 Knoll Road. Anyone been to see it?
I haven't actually been to see it, but I know the property.
I have seen it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody got anything to say about it?
I think there's been a lot of development very similar in Meadow Way. So I think we just comply with our normal restrictions of delivery and etc.
Okay, and I only have one concern, and that is that the roof line is going to be slightly higher than the current chimney. The dormers are overlooking the east side, and the property next door that they'll overlook has already got Velux windows in as well, which means they're slightly lower than the people looking in. I seriously think that neighbours' consideration should be taken into consideration, definitely. But it's a whole new floor, so it is slightly higher than all the rest of the bungalows except this one. But the usual conditions, I think, to put against those. Everybody happy with that? If we do that? And D, Lee.
Well, where do you start really? I've given some paperwork over to Danielle,
Okay.
and it's just relating to the new plans, which really are just a rehash of the old plans. And as far as I can see, that the company that Gem Select have asked to assist them in providing this service, based in Belfast, all the information that they have and the disclaimer they've given is that the information provided is taken at face value. There's no measurements been taken. It's all information provided by Gem Select. Again, looking at the measurements that they have been given, they are still not accurate to the actual size of where the stream is and also to where the house is. Also, a point relating to that was that they are looking to perhaps regrade about 6-7 foot of the stream, but all the rest of the stream is in danger of collapse or has collapsed, and no mention of that has been at all in the estimate, or should I say the paperwork. So, in my opinion, that I'd ask the council to reject it purely on the basis that we need further information and true, accurate measurements to be provided to the from the client to the company in Belfast, because at the moment they don't match up.
Okay.
I've got to make a comment that there really should be an on-site inspection. They can't just, they shouldn't just do a desktop study and response. It's just not acceptable in this case.
Okay. I did pass the information. In fact, I think I can't remember whether I rang Chris Brunt or whether he rang me, but he has already reported to East Sussex
That's right, correct.
Flood Association. Yeah,
That's correct. I think
Okay.
it's Chris Bunch has done it to Flood Prevention Officer, and I think somebody else as well. They've got the same information.
right, fine. Can we put
But I
that
just
on?
think that coming from the council, it does hold some weight.
Okay, Lee. Fine. Thank you. I think that was it. Wasn't it? Yeah, that's it. There is no more. So, anybody else got anything else to say about planning?
Did you want to ask Andrew for a comment?
Oh, sorry. Oh, Andrew, yes. Andrew, good evening. Could you just make a comment that you made with regards to Barn Court? That you called in Barn Court. Barn House.
Farmhouse.
Yeah, you called it in.
I have provisionally called it in with a view to speaking to the officer, and that's as far as it's got.
Okay, fine. Thank you. I did mention it earlier before you came in, but I'm so glad that it was here.
Obviously, it forms no view as to what way that should go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that being the case, there's nothing else. That's it. I'm just looking at it. There was one passed, Winwood Fursway, permission granted subject to condition. Yeah, we did make a comment, okay. Okay, that's the end of that. Close the meeting time. Time, is it?
Sorry. 6:52.
6:52, thank you.
Just say, I normally put bits up for people on the screen, but my laptop is just not cooperating with me tonight for the planning.
Yeah.
What is this?
A lot of complaints about that.
Item 12.
That is where it's going to be. People who do the cameras, up in Battery Hill.
Yeah.
I'm down there a few times.
Well, that's also.
Yeah.
They do good.
Wow.
I mean, and all it does is tell people to slow down. That's what he says. It's not like a speech. No, of course not. That's batteries and stuff like that. Don't know if it's only one off or something, but don't really say, but I think it's It's something that you don't rent for a year.
I don't think so, you know.
Because that doesn't have all the way is that really?
Probably, yeah, probably. For 2,500, you have some standard, a couple of thousand
Couldn't make it up.
Oh, yes, I heard that Did you get
I know, I've got it a while ago.
Are you standing? Are you standing?
I'm barely even sitting.
Well, yeah. Which I spread.
Right, good evening ladies and gentlemen, it's 7 o'clock. I'd like to remind you this is a parish council meeting held in public, not a public meeting. Please address all your comments that you have from the council to the council members. First off, we'll invite members of the public if they have any questions regarding any points on the agenda. Yes, sir.
Item 4, please, code of conduct.
Do you want to mention it now, Derek, or when we get to that point?
I'm quite happy to mention it now. It's to do with, I'm assuming of course it relates to both members of the public and the members of the council. So my question relates to the poster that the parish council put up at its inception, which actually explains your views, which is excellent, and there are 8 of them, which I'm very pleased to see. But 2 of them, I mean the first one is transparency, which is great, and so I'd ask each member of the council please to explain to me their other promises, which are numbers 7 and number 8, to support DISH and to support volunteers. Do you want to expand further on that, Chairman, or can I relate that when I come to the question?
I can relate. I can carry on with that. There are different types of support from my point of view.
Do you want to answer it now or wait till item 4?
No, I can do it now if you wish, if you'd like me to. Is the council happy for me to do that?
Yeah. Well, if each person is what they meant by it, would be great.
You want each person to mention, but
Yes, please. And mainly because not one penny was given, as you know, in grant, and all the money that is given is always given back to the village in the form of rent. So there's not a penny goes outside the village. So I find it inexplicable why support is not in any way given to Dish, which doesn't make any money for anybody, but creates a lot of support for a lot of people.
Okay.
Could you just call order, please? I've just been
Thank
sworn
you.
at. The person who just left swore at David before he left.
Right. Can I? Excuse me, just one moment, please. We'll answer question 4 when we get to it, if that's all right with you, Derek.
Yes, it's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. There'll be no public questions if it continues. I will close the meeting and the public will have to leave. I have the right to do that. I do not wish to do that because the members of the public have the right to hear any questions from anybody. There is nothing wrong with any question from anybody. I can't deal with any comments that any of the public make to any of the other public as far as I'm concerned, because this is a parish council meeting and I deal with a parish council meeting only. Right, any other questions? Yes, sir.
It's relating to item 10, which is the tennis court access. I'm
yes.
secretary of the committee and got the chair, other members of the committee here as well. We just really to make a comment that we know you considered improving the access. We know we see the reports associated with it. Just to say that we would like to get the access sorted before the winter. We know there's different solutions on the table. We're fully in support of the option 1 that was put forward in the report. We did consider the request at the last meeting to move the gate to the other end of the tennis court, but that's not really very practical and would be very expensive for us. So
Okay.
we're very much here just to add that comment to say, you know, we'd like to push the council to make a decision and to push it forward, and that's
Can I just say, sorry, there was a proposal to move the gate to the other end.
Yes, right.
But if you can imagine, I went, and I know it quite well, as I'm sure all you do, but if you move the gate to the other end, it's still waterlogged, and we'll still be back here saying we need a pathway, you know, to get to it. Because going to the other end, there's a bank around it, so it's not, the other end's almost in the same position, so it's pointless. It would be more cost. You'd simply be moving the gate, which is the cost of moving the gate, building the pathway that you're already going to build on the other side, and it'd still be wet. So it doesn't. The solution that I think was suggested previously is by far the best one in our opinion, and I generally think practically it is the best one.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Yes, okay. Any other questions? Izzy?
Yeah, item 8, the road safety measures.
Yeah.
Have the parish council consulted the speed watch volunteers to find out data about the amount of speeding that they find?
I think that's been done several times over the last 5 or 6 years. And I know that for a fact.
Yeah, I was meaning more recently because I think I had a conversation with Speedwatch who said that actually the level of speeding had altered over the sort of time that between the previous conversation and this one. The other question is, have you talked to Ralph about it?
To answer your first question, these road safety matters was only put on the put on the agenda 2 weeks ago, after I had a conversation with Carl with regards to safety matters and speed awareness in the village. So that's the first issue.
Okay.
The second one is nobody's spoken to Ralph either.
All right, are you aware, well you are aware, Steve, I know, but are the other councillors aware that Ralph has over the last 3 or 4 years been looking at speeding within each parish council's village? And some villages bought black cats, which I know is on the agenda and is quite expensive. And I feel that discussing it with them, and in fact if you look at Etchingham Parish Council's website, they have a very good discussion of the pros and cons of the black cat, because Heath at Ralph has an awful lot of knowledge and information about the effectiveness of various measures that other villages have put in. And if other villages have put in measures that have not proved effective, it might save Fairlight and the Parish Council and East Sussex Highways time, money, mainly money.
Okay.
I'm happy to talk further if you wish any more details, but
Our current clerk
your
and
Ralph rep,
RFO.
I was going to say, I'm happy to talk to your Ralph rep about it, who may be able to network work at the meeting tomorrow afternoon at Ralph.
Right, our current clerk and RFO works for Icklesham on Thursday and Friday, and she is responsible for collecting the data for RALC. We do it for the Black Cat. I have been at meetings where I've heard Keith speak about Black Cat, and as far as I'm aware, there's only one place that it's actually made a difference. And I can't remember the name, I'm sorry, I can't remember. I thought it was Catsfield, but I might be wrong.
It was Catsfield.
It was, okay. But that's the only place that's made any difference. Apparently, the information goes to the police, and it's a bit like other people. If you don't complain about anything, nothing will ever get done. It's a matter of how much data can they get. There's nothing recorded about it. But it's on the agenda, and we'll speak about it when we get to it.
Okay, my point is that other villages have bought black cats and they may be sitting in cupboards, and it could save you £2,500 if you want a black cat.
Any other questions? Thank you. Any other questions?
Local councils. Yes, I have another question. Item 15, correspondence.
Yeah.
How do you decide which correspondence is put on the agenda? And who decides that?
The clerk will decide the correspondence that goes on the agenda, as you very well know that's the way that it goes. With regards to the two correspondence that were actually missing from the agenda, one was it's in process, and we'll deal with it now as you've raised the point. One was in progress already and is still being we're waiting for an answer, and the other one I was asked to make sure that the councillors were aware of the benefits of Dish, and when I asked would they like it read out, they said no, we just want it recorded, and it has been recorded.
There are other bits of I don't know the first bit what you were relating to. The matter was still in hand, but there are. I know.
The other one is we've had a complaint about a councillor and her comments, and the reply to that is they have been asked to contact and notify to contact the monitoring officer.
Okay. Well, I've had two bits of correspondence with you, one of which I've already discussed, which is the planning meeting the last time, and the other of which concerns signatures being published on the website, which again has not been mentioned, and I'm not sure why.
Would you like to deal with that or not?
Well, the signatures were taken down.
No, they haven't. They were still on this morning.
I thought they would.
I thought it was off as well.
The signature. I was told the signatures would be taken down. There were some other questions which I still have outstanding, but the signatures were still there this morning. I have been a victim of signature fraud in my past life. It is a significant thing, and I don't think you've informed the people whose signatures have been leaked into the public domain that they have been. And I'm not quite sure why you said the signatures would be taken down,
as far as
but
I'm
it's
aware,
not a reportable, GDPR reportable thing.
I spoke to the ICO and they said it's not a reportable breach.
Okay.
But
the
we still
should be taken down.
Yeah, we as far as I was concerned, they were taken down.
as far as I'm aware, they were taken down.
They will be taken down.
They have not disappeared.
Okay, they will be.
They are still in the public domain.
Yeah, which website is this on?
This is on the old website, but it's still available to the public.
It is available to the public, you're absolutely right. and I will make sure they're taken down.
Thank you. It is serious.
Any other questions? Okay, we will continue. To receive the reports and ask questions of the County Council, we will receive reports from the county officers. Andrew, first? Sorry, just, Carl, have you got to get away?
No.
Okay, fine. Okay, thank you.
Well, I've submitted a written report, so I wouldn't do many things long. I give an update on the restructuring of local councils. Not all that much has changed since the last time I spoke on that. Things are progressing steadily towards making a fuller submission to ministers in September. I've also, the Planning and Infrastructure Bill is at its committee stage at the House of Commons. I'm concerned about clause 46, I think it is, yes, clause 46, which would give powers to ministers to make regulations providing that certain kinds of planning application, any kind of planning application that they determine, will never ever go to a planning committee and would always be decided by officers with, as far as I can see, no safeguards at all. I find that very unsatisfactory, and I have submitted written evidence to the House of Commons Committee, which is considering it about now. And, oh yes, and as from the 19th of May, accidents to avoiding, I shall be chair of the council of Rother, which is an honorary position. It carries no political clout whatsoever. Rather the contrary. I shall be an ex officio member of all committees except for the cabinet, and that means that I can't vote and I can't propose motions. So if there is any power attached to it, it's most definitely soft power. On the other hand, I look forward to receiving invitations from parishes, from churches, places of worship, clubs, societies and so on throughout Rother, which I would be very happy to attend and to speak if necessary, and to eat lunches, dinners and the rest, if honoured. So, unless there are any questions, I think that will be done.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. I can't see you around the corner. Who's it? Tim?
Yeah, I'm here.
Go on, Tim.
Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Andrew on being appointed. Oh, that's a boss. Damn. That's fine. I'm going to get fired.
Go to silence. Answer it.
Okay. Apologies for that. Anyway, congratulations to Andrew on Councillor Meir, I should say, on being the chair for Rother District Council for this year, and I'm sure he'll do a sterling job. And it's always good serving alongside him, and I'm sure he'll be a great chair. In terms of the devolution thing, it seems to be quite a settled matter that the three branches of the unitary will become the combined authority. And I just hope that once that matter is settled, more attention will be paid towards parishes. Maybe they increase in size, maybe they increase in power, maybe they should deal with potholes, who knows. But I think it's a big open, field, and I think it's worthy of a lot of thinking anyway, and consideration. And the only other little minor point is I ran into somebody who's doing a survey for City Wire, I think they're called, and they're doing a survey for putting in fibre broadband, which will take about a year to publish the survey and decide whether or not they want to, equip the village with fast band, super fibre, whatever it is. So anyway.
Yeah, I thought Truly was doing that.
Well, they are on the back of the BT one.
Yeah.
This is like a parallel assessment going in. Because I did tell them, I said, Thule's doing this, but Thule are piggybacking. When I spoke to Thule, they said they're piggybacking the existing BT structures, infrastructure. So
Oh, right, okay.
So this is a sort of a parallel assessment going on. I don't know where it's leading, just a bit of information I picked up on route.
Okay, thank you. Good. Carl?
Thank you very much. Do you want me to talk about agenda item 8 now, or save it for agenda item 8? Your turn.
Quite happy to take it 8 if you're not going to run away. Yeah, okay. I didn't mean run away, you know.
No.
How to breathe. Go on then. Was there anything else?
But only adding to what colleagues have said around the devolution agenda, and that will be, obviously we will know more in September. It's important, I suppose, to emphasise that there isn't unanimity across the 3 counties in terms of what should happen. There is one political group that still want a coastal unitary. But I have to say, from what I can see, what little we know about that proposal, they haven't published it. The reality is that it would be contrary to what is in the white paper. So it's, again, I don't want to make a political comment at a parish council, so that's why I'm being a little bit opaque. But I suspect that what we've discussed previously will be what actually happens, which is without splitting existing borough boundaries and district boundaries and for that matter even perhaps county boundaries. The reality is to make the savings that government want to see as a result of the devolution local government reform, I would imagine what has been proposed and what we're trying to work towards will actually happen. But I think it's, as I say, important to emphasise that there isn't unanimity across the piece. Particularly there's a contrary opinion from parts of Hastings Borough Council and Brighton Hove around this idea of a coastal strip.
Okay.
Item 8, I've got plenty to say on that.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Okay, to record any apologies for absence, there are none. To consider any request for approval of reasons for absence, it goes with that, so there's none there either. Right, code of conduct and disclosure of interest. Received any disclosure of... yes, Jeff.
Leases and activated fund. But it's non-financial.
Okay, fine.
Item 9.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Anyone else?
Item 10.
We need Dominic to leave the room again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to leave the room for that. Dominic, all right. No others? Okay. To consider and approve the signing of the by the chair of the minutes. Everybody read the minutes?
Yes.
Everybody happy with
I
it?
changed the bit that Councillor Whiteman said needed changing.
Say it again, sorry.
I changed the bit Councillor Whiteman said needed changing.
Oh right, okay. Did everybody see that bit that Councillor White was suggesting changing?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Chair, you haven't answered my question to item 4 yet. You go on to item 5, I don't want to get mixed up, please.
Oh, yes, you're right, Derek. My apologies. I will stop there. Okay. Yes. Okay. Support of dish. Yes, I have support of dish. There are different types of support. There's financial support, and with regards to the financial support, the grants panel sat, and this parish council agreed that there would be no money for them. I had no reason to vote for that purpose. I'll not give my opinion as to why, because that would be wrong. However, Dish has moved away from its original concept. It followed on from Woof, which was Warm Up Fairlight, which was tea, coffee, soup and a bun, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. That to me is drop-in social hub. To me, a drop-in social hub is not dinner laid on I just don't believe that that's what the case is. But I will still support Dish. If I have the time and I'm well enough, I will go to Dish. If I'm not, then I won't go. But that's my opinion. Jeff, you want
Derek, sorry, can you sort of repeat the exact question you asked
Yeah, sure.
as far as reference to
Yeah.
what we said when we set up the new council?
Yes, you've got a list of 8 promises that you made, which are on the notice board. Very
Mhm.
clear, very good, very laudable. One was about transparency, which is why I asked the question for you all to answer, and to actually explain what you mean by support, because I don't understand us. I think only 2 people I see here have actually ever been to Dish. One, I think, to collect prescriptions, and look, and the other one was
So you just
dinner
want-
items.
Sorry, you just want an answer
But I just
specific
need
to
an
Dish
answer to what you mean by support.
support.
Steve hasn't quite said, he says he does support it. I suspect that means he's, you know, not anti it, or it's just glad it's there. But as it serves the purpose, it's not a dinner or whatever description was made. It's people who go there benefit
Yes.
in ways that you can't measure in monetary terms or any other terms, other than they get so much well-being out of being there, and it's an opportunity for them to exchange views, to talk. There's no one otherwise get. They're not on AI, they're not on FaceTime, Facebook, whatever it is. They're actually talking to people, and they use that opportunity for their well-being. And we know people there whose husbands have had real problems, where the wives have been very grateful to be there to talk, and the other way around as well. And I just say to you, there are people there who give their time freely, and I mean freely, in terms of cooking, cleaning, serving, helping, talking, and any money that would be given to them as a real voluntary, that's your number 8, volunteer support volunteers, and they're all volunteers. They don't feel supported when they're not given a penny to help with the rent of them, and they're well fold as a result of not having any financial assistance from a parish council who purports to support it. And in relation to other parish councils, you talk about being exemplars for all sorts of things. We have had other parish councils asking us how we do it because they think it's absolutely brilliant.
Well, Derek, in answer to your question, and I think I've probably stand quite a good record of support of Dish. I supported it on its initial setting up. I've supported it ever since, and I have been along on occasions, admittedly not very often, but personally I do work almost full time, so I can't. When it comes to the finances, there is a statement which we are prepared to read under the correspondence, or I can do it now after everybody else has spoken, in specific to the point of support. And just to really reiterate what Chairman what Steve has said, is that support can come in many forms. It's not always necessarily financial. And personally, I believe there were good reasons why this parish council has not financially supported Dish for next year, or for this grant application this year, should I say?
But you don't want to say what they are.
Sorry?
You don't want to say what those reasons are.
Well, it depends on the chair whether or not he wants me to do that now as chair of the grants committee, or under the correspondence, or after everybody else has spoken in answer to your question.
Thank you. Don?
Well, I don't have any reason for not supporting Dish, but obviously I do work full time, and I haven't got as much time to sort of come to do the visit. That's as far as I'm concerned.
Look, I mean, as I said earlier to Steve, support isn't attendance, it takes many other forms. I just wondered what forms of support you are giving. That's all. Lynn?
I think, speaking for myself, I've supported WOOF when it started. I do support Dish because I think it's excellent. I do have a number of friends that actually attend Dish on a regular basis and who enjoy it enormously. They don't necessarily enjoy the food, but they do enjoy the meeting and chatting to all their friends and that sort of stuff. So that's absolutely great. So I'm quite happy about that. I'm quite happy to support it morally, and that's fine. As far as financial is concerned, as has always been stated, the parish council did spend a lot of money supporting the rent for the last few years. And the original proposal for Woof and supposedly continuing to Dish was that it would be self-funded. So I fail to see why it still needs the support of the parish council when it's attended by apparently by 40 plus people each week. And if the contribution was only a couple of quid from each person, that would be 80 quid a week. That would be something like 320 quid on an ordinary 4-week month, and 400 quid on a 5-week month, which would happily support the rent. So I fail to understand quite why it needs the parish council to support it financially, because as you say, lots of people make, including your dear wife, who makes, I know, wonderful cakes and stuff for the meeting, as do lots of other people. So I'm very happy to support it. I too work full time, have a large garden and 8 animals to look after, sometimes 9. So I'm quite a busy bunny, and I don't feel the need to come and socialise at a lunchtime meeting. And I'm quite happy to make my own coffee and stuff, thank you. So I don't need to be here. So for everybody else that loves it, absolutely fantastic, no problem. But it should be able to be self-funded.
So you'd be extremely disappointed if it had to fold because the
I
funding
don't see,
wasn't there?
Derek, I fail to see why it should fold. As I said, if everybody just puts in a couple of quid, it'll be sorted. And I
If
don't
you
believe
read our constitution,
I did.
you would know it would be against our constitution to charge.
they don't have to charge.
Excuse me,
for these
excuse
donations.
me. Derek has asked each of the councillors to give their opinion. Let the rest of the councillors finish first.
And it's not, we're not saying charge. I'm saying they can easily volunteer the £2 or whatever they can afford. I don't believe that everybody does donate, which I think is a great shame and does not show the true support of the village for the dish, which I think is very, very sad. And I would urge you all to recommend that people do support it. But I support it personally. I'm quite happy for it to continue, and that's it.
Sarah.
As I've said before, I've supported Dish, and I quite agree with everything that Derek said on a social community beneficial level. When I have been approached as a business owner, I have supported Dish, as I do every local charity. I think I try and do one once a year. Because as a business owner, I can't personally attend because I'm elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, support doesn't mean that, as you say, you don't need to attend. I mean, I support Manchester United, but I've never been to a game, but I still support. And I feel the same with Dish. It's a great idea. Yes, it is. It's a relevant question, isn't it? Because you support something doesn't mean you need to attend. I support Dish, and I think it's a great idea. And it will continue, no doubt.
Michael.
Thank you. As both Chair and Vice Chair have said, circumstances have changed and the functioning of Dish has changed, as far as I'm aware. I recall a meeting last autumn when the Residents Association kindly took on the overseeing, if you like, of Dish. And at that time it was stated quite clearly that we would support them, which we have done generously over the years, until the end of last financial year. My personal feeling is that Dish needs to change and to recognise the fact that it has become a social hub and it should be self-supporting. And I also believe that grants should not be used towards the running costs as such, day-to-day costs, but grants should be used for enhancements to whatever that particular organisation deals in. I've had my say on this before. I feel quite strongly about the way the village should develop, and I see no reason to change any of that.
Take a bite.
Yeah, I agree with much of what everybody said, but you know, in the future things might change and funding can be given again. But as I said, it highly depends on how it progresses.
Okay, David. Derek, anything else? Did
Just
you
to say that you seem to be referring back to Woof, and if I could just say that the whole development of Woof into Dish occurred because of the need that was obviously seen as a result of people coming to the cold to keep out, and we had two venues at that time, and it then became much more relevant to those people who needed the social contact. And what I can say is I'm very disappointed that support is in the same way that you give to Manchester United, i.e. no actual involvement, no actual giving of anything, and I just feel that those people who are at the moment giving up incredible amounts of time and energy to work and help those people in the village, that it will go. And you know, you say that the money may well be given by volunteers. It's a great shame that that has to be the case, that it has to be seen that for them to be giving money to make sure that other people can get something out of a situation that would not be there if it wasn't for Dish. So I'm really sorry.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you for your time.
Can I just remind you that the parish council are responsible for the funds kept that belong to the residents of this village. Yeah, we look after the funds for this village. If I'm not mistaken, come December, the rest of the parish council agreed to fund and pay for the hire of the hall right the way round to the 31st of March. That means everybody in this village has paid something towards the running of Dish. Everybody.
Exactly.
And Dish is open to everyone in the village.
Dish is open. Dish is an acronym which stands for Drop In Social Hub.
Exactly. And the money that you say, Steve, that you give does actually go straight back into the village in the form of rent in the village hall, which helps to maintain this. And to say that the amount of money given would cover that rent, if Dish was not there, then you'd have to find something like £2,000 to help maintain this village hall, because that would be another, it would not be replaced on a Monday afternoon.
Okay,
anyway, that's something I hope that does not happen. And I'm just very sorry that the support is only tacit.
Yeah. The thing in correspondence, because that's what it should be done.
Yeah. Right, the chair of the grants committee has said that he will cover the rest of the comments in correspondence when we get to it. Okay.
In terms of sport, Chair, I do apologise, but I do have to go now, which is why I'm glad you let me have the item under item 4 rather than wait till later.
That's fine, Derek.
So thank you, Derek.
Okay. Right, we go back to signing of the minutes. Right, 6 matters requiring decision by the council. To receive a list of items paid to date in March and April, and a list of items for payment in April. All okay?
Sorry, can I just add that there is the list of items to be paid, £40 for Councillor Cook's planning training, and also the, so I'm just going to check, £782.66, which is for the renewal of the insurance. We're in a long-term agreement, so we can't until 2026. So,
okay. And
that's including the cover of the War Memorial, which I think is about £62.
That's
for the year.
Isn't it?
Pardon?
It's come down since last year.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But
and that's due in April, is it?
next month, it runs out next month.
Runs out next month, okay.
That's with zero.
Right, we're still all in agreement with that, okay?
Yes.
Okay. You've seen the receipts and payments reports?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. To approve the March reconciliation. Do you want me to sign it now?
Have we signed it?
Right. Did I?
I think Jeff signed it with
Oh, it's that
Jeff
one there.
and John
That's it.
signed
Right.
it, yeah.
That's one.
And it was obviously in
Okay.
before.
Right, to note the VAT submitted, January to March, 314.76. Yep. To note Fasto's web hosting cost increase from £11 to £12.65. On that point, I did have a phone call with somebody who made a comment. They weren't sure what those two payments for. I explained to him what the two payments were for, and once the accounts have been done for the parish council for the year, the website will be taken down. I need to make sure that we have everything from the old website is on the new website that is necessary for the accounts. I've made backups, but I don't have anywhere where I can drop that backup into to make sure that it still works. I can't do that. So until such times as the accounts are finished, those two will stay, I'm afraid. All right. To agree the VA Day celebration costs of 115.47 so far. Okay. To agree the transfer of 15,000 community savings account into the Unity current account. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. To note the nominated bank account with Rebel Bank has been changed from the Unity Trust savings account to the Unity Trust current account.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. To issue apologies and receive grant application. To issue apologies and receive the grant application because it came in late. That was for £500 to fund the continuation of providing services to the community. Council happy with that? Or no?
I'm not particularly happy with it. I think in view of our overall grant situation this year, where this would actually top it to more than twice the amount of the budget and in line with cuts we've made to other groups, my personal preference would be to only award 250.
You agree?
Yeah.
Would council agree with that? 250? Right, road
Could I just say that they met all
Met the
criteria.
Criteria. Met all the criteria very well, actually.
Okay, 8, road safety matters. To note, there is a proposal for the East Sussex County Council road safety team to assess issues within the village. Carl?
Thank you very much, Chairman. Again,
this is a new road safety team, isn't it?
yes, it is new. Both Brian Banks and his number 2, Ian Johnson, retired, so they've been replaced by an all-female team, and very capable they are. There's a new initiative, that's the first thing to say, and I've emailed Danielle with that today, around Correx, permitting parish councils to put up Correx boards with various road safety statements, encouragements, call them what you will, such as slow down, speed kills, that sort of thing. The idea of that is not to have a proliferation of street furniture, but the idea is that they would be moved, for example, every 3 months. I've sent those details to Danielle, so if you want to apply for that, as far as I'm aware, there's no cost, and that can be supplied to Fairlight Parish Council. And I think that is a good idea because obviously if there is signage that moves around and is new, it will be a reminder to motorists, both local and those passing through.
Is this similar to what they have at Selwyscombe?
No, well, the Selwyscombe ones, as far as I'm aware, are done by the parish council. These would be signed off properly by the East Sussex, so legally, you know, you're not going to fall through any pitfalls, so to speak. So that's a new initiative, and that is good news.
So we have some.
You have some already. Yeah, well, there's more coming. So, so in terms of obviously road safety, that new road safety team, I had a conversation with the chairman offline and I have got the road safety team out to various other parishes. I represent 6, as you probably know, to look at various problem areas. In the short to medium term, that could, for example, mean that we look at signage, because over time signage doesn't get replaced as regularly perhaps as people would like, or if there is an area, particularly within the village, that you think there is a particular issue, we can look at signage. We've done it before. I can remember Jeff, and that is either we've had different teams out, we've referred back to the road safety team. It's something that we have looked at before, but not focused upon that. And I think clearly if there are particular roads within Fairlight that you think want looking at, that will be really useful to focus the attention. I do, however, want to cover off the issue around reduction in speed limits as a blanket idea, because I need to be really upfront with you that the professional opinion would be, and in fact in terms of actually enacting it, that sort of blanket lowering of speed limits could be enforced within a town. It could be suitable within a town where you've got traffic calming schemes that go in at considerable expense. But where you're looking at a rural area, and I'm sure that you won't mind me saying this in terms of anecdotally, when you talk to people within rural areas, what you don't want is a creeping urbanisation. You know, people aren't normally in favour of the proliferation of street furniture, narrowing, speed humps, etc. And they're also, to actually do that, physical engineering measures, you're looking at considerable expense. So let me be absolutely clear. As I say, I have experience of it in other villages, and I know what the road safety team will say as a general rule in terms of what has to be achieved before you can lower a speed limit to, for example, 20. So if you wanted to say, I would like to see a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit on a particular road, you would have to demonstrate, and the evidence would have to be the speed surveys carried out by Sussex, which would be a cost for the parish council. We'll come on to that in a moment. But you would have to demonstrate that the average speed is not more than 24 miles an hour anyway. Because otherwise, and the police will back that line as well, because otherwise, if you artificially lower a speed limit to what you think it should be, the reality is, if it's significantly lower than somebody who's already travelling on that road as an average speed limit, if it's a significant difference, road users will completely ignore that. And what you could see is actually an increase in speed. And it's been demonstrated, the statistical analysis is there, that if you artificially lower a speed limit, that will happen. So whereas you might have a 30 road where people travel at 32, if you artificially lower it, people will just ignore it if there aren't physical traffic calming measures to support that, or if the average speed is not already 24 miles an hour or lower. So there are opportunities, and as Izzy covered earlier, other villages have done various other things around trying to lower speed limits. But the reality is, signage is one way that you can achieve it. You can achieve it through traffic calming measures, and they, generally speaking, are very expensive schemes. They're not to be taken with a pinch of salt in terms of what the cost might be to the parish of Fairlight to instigate and you know, because it wouldn't be, let's be very clear, it wouldn't be a priority of the county council, because you haven't got the accident record that would mean that there should be significant money coming to Fairlight to support that. There has been the examination of A and B roads around speed limits, and you will know the good news that we've got a speed being lowered within Fairlight that's been made public a couple of weeks ago, which is really, really encouraging. But in terms of the minor roads in Fairlight, what we can do and what we should do, in my view, and I've had a chat with the team, they are quite happy to come out to Fairlight, but in order to make it worth doing for all of us, is to focus that examination on particular roads where you think that there is a problem. And then if the parish council then have a conversation with the road safety team, I'm quite happy to attend that meeting, of course, as your county councillor. We can then try and do things that could make a material change to speed within the village. But the reality is, as I say, if you look at the scheme in Selliston, for example, to enact traffic calming measures across the village, you aren't talking about £5,000 or £10,000. If if you wanted to do it across the village and have a lowered speed limit, you would have to be looking at somewhere in anything between tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands, and there would have to be physical traffic calming measures to support that. So you need to be aware of that. I take a pragmatic view, that might not be shared with everybody in the room, but my pragmatic view is you do what you can do, remembering that every pound you spend is, as you've referred to earlier, Chairman, is money that's put in by the people of Fairlight. And it may be that there might be a scheme on a particular road or street, or roads or streets that you might want to take forward. But to get that professional advice from the road safety team, I think is the proper first port of call, because that advice will be professional advice that clearly covers off all bases. If there is signage that needs to be improved, we can look at that. We already have a very good relationship with the steward, whereby if there's overhanging hedges, etc., we look at that. The other thing, and I have spoken to her about it as well, is obviously around white lining within the village, and I think we could use that visit, if I may be so bold, as to actually highlight that as a particular issue that warrants attention as well.
Okay. One of the things that I've been doing is that in the last 5 weeks, and I've chosen different days, and as you know, I use a scooter, electric wheelchair, and I'm quite lucky with that, because I can move it on site faster than a 75-year-old or 85-year-old, which is the majority of the people that live around here. And 2 roads particularly, and I don't live on it, I live on a spire road, but Lower Waits Lane, people are just not interested in the speed that you want to do. If there's no cars, they will do what they want to do. If there is cars, then they will slow down. And I have driven up and down Lower Waits Lane in this, and the cars have had to wait, and I will not move over. Now that's probably the wrong thing to do. However, it's achieved the objective. They have slowed down. Yeah, I get verbal abuse, but I couldn't care less. It goes in one ear and out the other. But in terms of Waits Lane, people that live on one side that want to catch the bus to go to wherever it is have got across the road somehow. There is no means of, when you've got cars, if it was completely packed with cars parked down both sides of Lower Waits Lane, there wouldn't be a problem, because people would have to slow down automatically. But as there's no cars parked, and occasionally when you get those with builders that are doing the work, etc., they need their tools by them, otherwise they get nicked, you know that. You can't cross the road. You know, a person with a walking stick cannot cross Waits Lane there first thing in the morning or late in the evening when work finishes. They just can't do it, and they've got to wait. And for the last 5 weeks I've been out there sitting in Waits Lane waiting for these people. Not to see them get injured, but just to see the number of people that can't cross. And they're waiting 10 or 15 minutes to cross that road. That's unacceptable, really, you know, in today's age. And most people, you know, a youngster would just skip across and away you go. But we don't have youngsters that can skip across in this village. You know, they are of the elderly fraternity, so, and they need looking after. Sorry?
I would contend that we're not all elderly and infirm.
So physically or mentally.
And that's sorry. That was my bit. And yes,
As
we're
I say,
not
I'm
all
prepared to,
elderly, yeah.
as I say, instigate that meeting with representatives of the parish council and the road safety team. And clearly, if members of the public want to contact me about particular issues that they have in their particular street, I'm more than happy to take those on board.
Okay.
Because we have to remember the fundamental behind all this. We want to make sure that roads are safer, but we also have to look at the context of what's affordable. But there are things we can do, and having the road safety team out to talk about the things that you can do, I think is certainly the first port of call. I mean, I think that the work that Speedwatch do is really, really useful. But in terms of if you wanted to progress with the scheme, you need to be really clear, and I'm pretty sure I won't be contradicted by the road safety team. You would have to have the Sussex speed surveys, which there would be a cost to the parish council, and I think it's roughly I think it's about £450, £500 per survey area. So I think, generally speaking, when these surveys are carried out, around about £1,000.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick question for the Speedwatch people. I'm sorry, yes, I
There are
forgot
only
the
4
name.
of us in the whole,
Okay.
whole area.
Is there a reason why you can't go into Waits Lane?
They do.
They do.
In Waits Lane?
Yes. Wait,
Sorry, I'm
Waits Lane.
talking to...
We do Waits Lane, we can't do Little Waits Lane.
We're talking to Liz.
No, okay, Lower Waits, but you do
Waits
Waits
Lane.
Lane?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, fine.
But within, we do that every 4 weeks because we cover a whole big area and there are only 4 of us.
Okay, fine.
Everybody else is volunteer.
Yeah, just, if there were more of you, would there be more of a chance of doing a more regular
Oh,
basis?
yes, absolutely. We have advertised and nobody could come forward. Not one person.
I'd do it, I'll sit in my thing and do it.
If I may,
Okay.
Chairman, I think one of the main reasons that people don't volunteer for Speedwatch is that you get physical, not physical abuse, one would hope, but verbal abuse sometimes. Normally from people who live, in my experience of other villages, normally from people who are just passing through, dare I say it, white bear man, but...
That's not true.
Well, it's been reported to me in other villages, but if it's locals, then that's a very sad state of affairs, because I think that, you're not out there to catch people speeding, you're out there to try and encourage people to drive sensibly.
We'll get a little thumbs up.
Okay, so can I just...
Ask Councillor Maynard, what sort of timescale period are we looking at before a meeting can be arranged?
I think
for us
that,
to collect data
I mean, if
or
you are happy to formally accept, without wanting to put words in the Chairman's mouth or your mouth, if you're happy to agree that a site meeting would be a good idea, I can email tomorrow and ask for dates, and then it will be within the next few weeks.
Yeah, lovely. Can we go down this road?
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
a few of us meet up maybe and discuss what we think the issues are.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Can I ask, I'm going to be away for most of May and I take an interest in this being as a member of the Institute of Advanced Motorists. Could it be made in June sometime?
Well, I can suggest June. I mean, the thing is, they do remember that these 2 members of staff cover the whole of the county. I suspect they would be relieved if I said June.
Okay. Right, we'll leave it open. All right, thank you. Are we going to continue to... Sorry?
Chair, if I may?
Yep.
Sorry, did I mishear you? Did you say that there's already been a speed reduction carried out on one of the roads locally?
Yes, C92, I've been emailed that
It's not a reduction, Carl.
redu-
It's a change of the sign.
Sorry, yes, that's the C92, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there isn't a reduction.
So it's... I haven't got the
It's
email
my
in
own
front of me.
beef. It's my own beef. The signs,
Yes.
as you come along Fairlight Road,
Yep.
you come round the bend at 60,
It's
leave
clearer.
at 40
It's-
miles an hour.
It's clearer.
They're going to be made clearer, at
Clearer.
least.
More visible.
Yeah. And that was as a result of the surveys in all the villages on the A and the B roads, so that's a result of that. Fairlight, I believe, is the only one within the division that's actually had any, physical change proposed. So it's still good news, whichever way you look at it.
But the predecessor promised me that 4 years ago.
Well, it's been done now. Well, they've done the whole survey across the whole of the county,
Yeah.
so it's not a small piece of work. But again, if there are, it's not, and forgive me for saying this, but if members of the public have got a particular bone of contention on a particular road, let me know. I can inform the road safety team, and I'll feed an answer back to you, because let's have a conversation about that. It's not exclusive domain of the parish council. It's it is as your county councillor, if a resident brings me an issue, I will get an answer on that issue. It might not be the answer you want, but I'll get the answer for you. And the reality is, as I'm sure we've got current councillors and previous councillors sitting in the audience, the reality is that road safety team have the professional expertise to give an answer. And as a county council, what I always say to them is, we can't do that. What can we do? And we normally get some progress.
Come on, very quickly, because we're going to discuss it hopefully we're going to discuss it. What happened to the information? How effective is it, or what can you do with the information from a black cat?
Again, I mean, as Izzy said, was in terms of route, there are those parishes that find the idea effective. But the reality is, in terms of if you want to focus on a particular road, in terms of giving the exact information that the county need in terms of this is what the speeds are. As far as I'm aware, and again, I'm not the expert, so that's maybe a question for the road safety team, but as far as I'm aware, in terms of absolute accurate information, that as far as I'm aware, that can only be provided by the proper, where they put the thing in the road and get the
that's the impression.
I mean, they're effective, and I know that different parish councils use them, but in terms of how that information can be used, I'm not entirely clear, and I'll be completely upfront with you on that, and I think that's a question for the road safety team.
Well, thank you.
Chair, can I ask Carl a question? Carl, one thing I wonder about is that low lane's already been obviously mentioned because it's a major issue. Is it still the same? Is it still Balfour Beatty, the people that are managing the speed? Right. So the lady that was the speed watch lady, she's still one of the key.
I would think so, although there have been some personnel changes. Yes, she's still there, and yes, but there have been, and there will continue to be some changes within the department. We've got a new head of highways now to replace Dale Paul, who retired after it was about 30 years. But again, in terms of staff, the point that was made earlier about being a new team, the road safety team, they will have fresh ideas. Yes, we've lost a lot of experience with Brian Batts and McNee and Johnson going, but when you get a fresh team, you always get fresh ideas, and I think there's an opportunity there as well.
Okay, and although some of the roads are obviously not formally adopted, so they're unadopted roads.
Well, that's the issue. I mean, as far as I'm, again, and this is where, and I'm aware that there are villages that with very strong opinions on this, and as somebody who declared an interest, I live in an unadopted road, I'm still not particularly clear on, as far as I'm aware, speed limits are unenforceable, but then you've got this business of highway safety, which they can have an input on when it's a public right of way.
Yeah.
Rather than a closed private road. There is a difference between the two. But they haven't got the responsibility of maintenance, and the speed limits are unenforceable. And that's the other thing I suppose I should say is, and the one thing you have to come away from any meeting with highways is and it always rings in my ears, and the police will say this because they will, and you'll perhaps laugh when I say it, but the speed limit needs to be self-enforcing. Because you're not going to have police come out and enforce speed limits in Fairlight. They have other priorities, but if you look at the number of traffic police you see now, again, anecdotally, I think they've decreased in number anyway. But so, I mean, in other parishes, I will say this, you haven't got as a difficult nut to crack as other parishes, because you've got places like Udimore where they have a noise nuisance as well as a speed nuisance. And the police used to be really, and it's a major bone of contention for me, because I find it quite frustrating, because for those of you who had motorcycles will remember that when you used to get stopped by traffic years ago, if you hadn't got a silencer, you got a ticket. Every other motorcycle is de-restricted, hasn't got a silencer, and you see them go past police cars, and that's something they should be enforcing, because a noise nuisance, you see, is as big a nuisance as a speed nuisance, and it also will, the point you made, and I think it's an important point to make, if you've got a noisy bike coming along, they will frighten somebody enough to make them fall over with the sheer decibel level of some of these high-speed bikes. But I think you have to presume that they need to be self-enforcing, because I think you have to be brutally realistic that unless there is a road where you've got serial speeders on that the police can catch, the reality is, aside from one assisting speed watch on occasion, you're very, very unlikely to get any form of enforcement in Fairlight. And the context of what we're trying to do needs to be seen in that honest context of the fact that they need to be self-enforcing.
Okay, Carl, thank you. Right, 8B, do we need to consider CAT, or does one of the councillors want to take on board and find out more about the CAT and the way that it's used?
Yeah.
You?
I think we do need to know a bit more about it,
Oh.
and to take advice from the experts, as Carl has just said.
Okay. Well, the clerk on RFO works at Ecclesham, where they use CAT. the Black Cat, don't they?
Yeah.
Is it? Would you like to talk to somebody at Ilfracombe? Do you want to do it?
By all means, if I wouldn't know who to speak to for a start.
We want to.
What questions people would like me to ask?
Well, Carl's already said we need to know who looks at this data.
It's
What
sent
happens?
to East Sussex Highways and the police.
So that's all it's sent to.
Yeah, and it's sent round to the councillors, and then obviously it determines whether a speed camera is needed in the area. But there's people that go past on the Ickleton Road at about 70 miles an hour, and we still haven't got a speed camera there.
So that doesn't look good to go down the route of
And
Black Cat
we've
to
had
find
them
it.
for years as well.
I can't. I mean, my personal point is if Councillor Maynard's right, and if you wanted to do any action, you then got to pay out a minimum of another £1,000 for the proper recording. I can't see any point in it.
Okay.
I think there are things we can do, as I say, and I think getting the road safety team out, I mean, again, it might not be qualitative evidence, but if we've got anecdotal evidence from residents that are concerned about particular roads, I think that's helpful to inform the discussion.
I think the bottom line is everyone in Fairlight would love to see a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit throughout the village, wouldn't they?
No,
but
not everyone.
Not everyone, but trying to get to that stage is nigh on impossible.
Well, you'd be looking, let's be blunt, to get 20 mile an hour throughout the whole of Fairlight, but you wouldn't because you've got unadopted roads.
Yeah.
That's the first thing to say. The second thing to say, you would be looking at engineering measures and do the whole of the village. I don't know, but I shouldn't be throwing figures out. But the reality is, if you're looking at road narrowing, things like that, you would also, I frankly think you would end up, unless it was a very sensitively designed scheme, you would get an urban look. And I think that's something that a lot of people wouldn't like. But there are things you can do, and there may be specific roads that warrant some intervention, and that's something that the road safety team can give you advice on.
Okay, thanks.
And I'll obviously back you in it, because I think that if there are problem areas, we need to look at those.
Okay,
and
well,
certainly won't take on.
Right, I think we'll wait for Carl to come back with a time when we can meet with the road safety people, and we'll raise the Black Cat issue with them rather than sit and talk about it. Yeah. Okay. Number 9, Knollwood volunteers. To discuss the recent incident in Knollwood and discuss and agree on processes going forward. I think we need terms of reference for the volunteers working in Knollwood.
Will you let me know when you finish? No.
Yeah.
Actually, that is me.
Don't worry about it, it's okay. I think we need to have terms of reference for people, the volunteers working in Knollwood, particularly with regards to bonfires, the same as Carley's School. We need to have a terms of reference. Can I make a point that, can I say that I don't think that the volunteers should go back into the wood until those terms of reference are done?
What do you mean by terms of reference? Sort of thing?
All about bonfires, the way they're working. I don't mean the way they're working, maybe, but some of the things they're doing in terms of health and safety for them, as well as for the public.
We have
okay.
We have
Right. Go on.
We have got. So I did circulate a health and safety thing when we make policy for volunteers. So I think we have to have a terms of reference and also have that correctly updated, so it's filled in basically for the volunteers at the time. I think
we also need to add in there a risk assessment.
Yes, that's what's meant. Sorry, risk assessment. There is a
things to cover. Distance between the spectators and the possible fire that you have in there. I mean, they burn the rubbish on there. Sometimes on a Tuesday, and sometimes not on a Tuesday. But how do you plan on putting the fire out? You know, that's known to them, but it's not known generally. I think we need to make sure that we don't want to stop Carly's School, but Carly's School can't have a bonfire until such time as we
need to have a meeting with the
don't know what Carley School does. I can verify that.
Well, I thought they did,
Perhaps they can.
because I thought they had the mushroom, not mushroom things, but the marshmallows.
Marshmallows.
Yeah, okay. Can we make sure that Carley's don't have a bonfire?
Shall we have a meeting with the volunteers?
We can do, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are other things that we need to add to that as well when the volunteers are working on the benches, which are here. Sorry, Ian, I've just remembered you wanted to say something.
Well, it was an idea for
Okay, let me know after the meeting. I'll make sure he gets it back.
Okay.
Right, sorry about that. My apologies. Okay. So no working in the woods until the terms of reference and the what we just said, risk assessment's done.
I think they're going to need to do a risk assessment every time they have a fire.
Right. That, I don't want to put the volunteers off from working in the woods, because sometimes I think that, you know, a lot of the time they're doing a lot of good. They're clearing the rubbish away and stuff. It would be easier for them, you know, don't have a bonfire, you know, until we have a terms of reference or a risk assessment, and then the risk assessment is against the fire only. Can we do that?
I need to
We
check with the
find out what-
insurance, because it might invalidate the insurance if we don't get a risk assessment.
There should be a basic risk assessment for their work.
Yeah, but they'll need to fill it out and then send it to me. So we've
Yeah.
got obviously a record of it.
Yeah, but if they're saying they're going to work in there every Tuesday, then surely they don't need to fill that out every Tuesday.
There
no,
might
but
be
I did-
changes in between weekly changes, like a tree could be in a different position 1 week or something.
One little ball punch.
It might have fallen over.
Oh, right.
Say something.
And like the weather conditions change and stuff like
Right,
that.
come back to, until such
So there
time.
is a blanket risk assessment I set up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's on the
Yeah.
website.
Say something.
Yeah, Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether they do have a bonfire or not, but obviously it's not a domestic bonfire. It's more of a, on a commercial basis, I'm going to thought. Now, whether that's appropriate, I don't know. But then you spoke about risk assessment in respect of the bonfire. If you're doing a risk assessment, it's got to be over the whole
Whole thing.
activity.
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah, so I didn't hear that.
No, I did assume that it would be over everything, not just the bonfire, but because the bonfire's there. What we don't want is what actually happened.
Could you enlighten us what happened?
The bonfire wasn't put out on the day that the volunteers left, which is the normal case. It's not a big bonfire, but there's a 2-gallon water can left by the side of it, so somebody could have put it out. But apparently there is a hole in the fence of, I don't know what the name of the land is, the other side of Knoll Wood.
It's the Warren
Estate. The Warren Estate. There's a hole in the fence, and a dog come running through the fence and run straight through the embers that were there. And what happens normally is that between the hours of 4 and 5, there are a couple of people that go up there, walk their dogs, and put the fire out if it's still alight, or it's still and the embers are still there. It is dug away and kept all clear, so far as I'm aware. But I think it's easier just to say no bonfires until we've done. Yes, sir.
Can I just say that with a risk assessment, you should also have a method statement, shouldn't you?
Yeah.
You know, you're assessing the risk in that,
Yeah.
but like you say, if the fire is left burning out, it should be put out, and that should be part of the method statement, which is, you know, it's short to RAMS, isn't it? They call it.
Yeah. Is it?
Can I just say, there was correspondence last month about bonfires in Knoll Wood, and I was the person who spoke to the volunteers about it, and I was assured that they would let us know if they were having bonfires or not.
And they do.
And they do.
Yes.
And that the bonfires will not continue after the end of April. So it may be, if you're going to stop them because of the bonfires, you may be shutting the stable door too late. If you're going to stop them because of other safety concerns about what they're doing in Knoll Wood, fine. But stopping them from the ongoing maintenance may well impact on Knoll Wood. and access to Knoll Wood for residents.
I appreciate that, which is why I really only wanted to stop them doing any bonfires, but to make sure that we cover everything, I think we need to make sure that we have terms of reference for everything that's covered here. So we've got them.
I think if, as long as they're doing risk assessments on any activities that they're doing, we don't need to stop them doing work there.
Okay.
For the minute, as long as they don't have any more bonfires.
Right.
Because we need to put together an adequate risk assessment.
Okay, I will speak to the bonfire people tomorrow.
In April, then.
Yeah, okay, it's finished anyway, but I will make sure I speak to them tomorrow and let them know what we're doing. Right.
I can work on it a bit over the weekend with them.
Okay,
yeah.
Again, look, you could have that blanket risk assessment and that, but I think if they're going to have a bonfire, they should let you know or give you notification and that on the day, so it is covered by that blanket assessment, so that you know that, oh yeah, there was a fire that day.
Well, they make a phone call to Izzy and team to make with regards to doing that, or email, whatever the case may be. We'll make sure that we put that in and do that as well. Thank you. David,
yeah, when I was involved in it a few years ago, I always got in touch with the fire service to inform them that we were having a fire, so that anybody reporting a lot of smoke and that, they knew what was going on. And I personally always went up there with gallons of water to put get the embers burnt, completely cooled right down.
Okay.
But I was always, every time we had, but that's when we done a big burn every few weeks. Now they do, and when I was last on there, we did a weekly burn as we went. So you didn't have this one, excuse me, one massive fire which we used to have before.
Okay.
So I was always dampening it down. I was, but then again, that was a couple of hours or so after we left. So you still had the problem of hot embers there. But I always went back round about 5 o'clock in the evening and completely damped it right down, made sure it's completely out.
Okay, fine. Thanks, David. Okay, right. Well, I'll talk to the volunteers tomorrow then. Sorry? Yeah. Huh? Okay, 10 is cool. Right, we're going to the tennis people have actually had a chat with us and spoken to us some days, that's fine. To consider the following quotation, option 1, you've got them in front of you. To clear a new pathway through the bushes, grade with a digger and lay bark chippings, or type 1, the pathway will start to the left of the tree, or option 2, set edging in the existing path and fill with bark chippings, type 1. It's time we got on and done something.
I totally agree, it's time we got on and made a decision, but I have to still say my personal option is for option 2, because of the way the path is not just used by the tennis court people, but also used by other walkers from one entrance to another entrance into the woods. And if you do the option 1, you really are only helping people going to the tennis club only.
It can be used by others.
Oh, it can be used by others, but what I'm saying is you've got an entrance into the woods basketball court end, and then you've got the entrance into the woods just near the tennis court.
Having said that,
and that strip there, is used by the tennis court at the moment and those walkers. Whereas if you go through the hedgerow and just make an access for the tennis court, it's not helping all the other walkers. And
what I would say though is that as a dog walker, the access near the basketball court down is a bit steep and a bit clumsy, at least as I get older and more decrepit. I find it a bit clumsy. I don't mind climbing up it, but going down it's a bit dodgy. Whereas if you go in via the tennis court access into the woods, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's okay. And so in that case, I agree with you. But if I was going to do it, I would be using the path that's being made down through the dogs,
Yeah.
so that I can go through.
Great, it's a good point actually. Perhaps it would
Because of the
deter a
access.
lot of people going down dangerous sectors behind the box.
Yeah, because that is a bit dodgy. It has to be said. The dogs love it, but I'm not very.
But then again, I fully respect the fact that the tennis courts are in favour of option 1. So perhaps just look at that.
What do other councillors think?
Yeah, I'll go with one.
Option one.
Yeah.
Are we in favour of option one? Tennis club is third as well.
I'm not sure the tennis club is in favour of option.
Well, we just had 2 members of the tennis club which both spoke and said they prefer option 1.
Exactly.
Excuse me, can you just explain? The option one is still following the similar path round, isn't it?
No.
No.
It's going from the other side.
No. It's cutting through some of the bush.
Yes, I know they are in favour of it.
Exactly.
That would be a proper path.
Yeah.
Yes.
A better path.
Exactly.
You've been eliminating all of them bloody path.
As opposed to this.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Please go ahead, Andrew. Yeah.
I declare an interest as an ordinary member of the tennis club, not on the committee, so of course I can't find them. I think I did hear the words option 1 spoken, but I thought he meant option 2.
Right.
And he might have been looking at the type 1 and just got his tongue in a twist. I think that he meant, from the way he spoke, that he meant set the edging in the existing path and fill with bark clippings. I think. I can't be absolutely certain.
Were you talking about the chap that spoke to us now?
There was an email.
Duncan, who was there.
Yeah, we had an email from him saying quite clearly option 1.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
It definitely said option 1.
Yeah. Apparently his table tennis we could pass.
Sorry, tell me to do it. I've got this thing.
you were. Get the shreds.
Not off the table.
Apologies.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's some debate as to whether it's option 1 or option 2, or was it using type 1?
So option 1, so from the options put forward, I think the committee generally viewed that the option 1 was the better option,
Okay.
because it would last for longer and not just get waterlogged full with water when it rained again. So I think once it was put on the table, the committee generally felt that option 1 was the better option, but we'd be happy with option 2 if that was
No, don't confuse it anymore.
Option 1 is cutting through.
Yeah.
The back.
From the top, going down the bank, nice gradual slope,
Absolutely.
and straight into the foot.
Right, are
into
you-
the tennis court.
Thank you, Duncan.
Are you talking about bark chippings or type 1 as well?
To be honest,
You don't care?
we're not contractors, we're not experts
Okay,
in paths, we're not playing tennis.
Okay, so
So
I think type 1 would be probably preferable, because it would give all sorts of access, disability access, if necessary, as
Okay.
opposed to bark chippings to be awful. And we have, we are, in the future, maybe go back to the LTA, they will want that to be part of the assessment.
okay.
It's only fair as well, it should be accessible.
Yeah, all right.
There is two.
Okay, thank you. All right, so option 1 and type 1. Done. Thank you. Okay, so we can get Dominic back in now.
Sorry, option 1 works in
Option 1's clearly the staff service and laying bark chippings or type 1.
Right, just that one.
Yeah,
Which contract?
Right.
Staff servicing.
I haven't got the paperwork for that. have we?
trying to get around to it. Just which contractor you want to go with, because there's different.
Well, at the moment, Steve is saying the only one which fits criteria is Star Servicing.
No, I disagree, not Bark.
It does say
Bark.
It's
Yeah,
not-
but he's the only one, I think it's right saying he's the only one
given-
which has said or MOT.
Yeah, MOT type.
Oh, right, okay.
If the table
Yeah,
doesn't
okay.
quite.
But I wonder if that includes the same price. Need to clarify that. We need to clarify that.
Star one, I think, is it just,
Star
yeah,
surfacing.
put it high. Star surfacing, yeah?
Oh, the type one.
And type one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a proposal that we use Star Servicing with type one. All in favour? Yes. Okay. Right, Neighbourhood Watch. Ian cannot continue with the Neighbourhood Watch. He's got quite a lot of work on over the next year and a half, 2 years, yeah, that first time. And he would like someone, he thinks it might be parish council work to take it on. Okay, at the moment there is a Facebook page. Is that
And there is an official Fairlight Neighbourhood Watch under the scheme.
And they all have a list of email addresses?
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to make sure they fall under GDPR.
What does it entail, do we know?
Ask Ian.
Sorry?
What does it entail?
Ian?
You have to go through disclosure, which is just a formality. If you've not spent your life looking over your shoulder, and then you just become the focus of the emails that come in and the distribution and the paraphernalia and everything that goes with it.
That's what
And
I'm
then
doing.
via the Facebook page and with the members that are on there, you can, just give out the information. If anybody requires anything from you, if they want stickers and stuff like that, they can come and get them from you.
What's the paraphernalia?
Sorry?
What's the paraphernalia?
Well, stickers and the flyers and that they send out from time to time. So you can make that available.
I'm a bit manic myself, actually.
Anyone want to take it on?
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
Lee?
Like, when he comes back,
Yeah.
I'll talk to you when you come back.
Yeah.
From home.
If you need help, just ask.
No, I can speak to Ian then, just that he's
Okay, so
decided to go on holiday.
yeah, well,
Again,
he's always on holiday.
another one.
Okay, thanks.
But
Okay.
Lee there, yeah.
Have you had written permission in? Have you had written permission
For what?
to go on?
To go on holiday?
So Lee's doing that. Item 12, leases. We have a list of 3 people: Harrington, Surrey Hills, Wellers Law Group. Danielle's done quite a bit of work on these leases already in terms of finding out exactly what's necessary. Harrington's suggested that it's just an agreement rather than a lease for Activate, bearing in mind that still the pavilion is still a viable product, or not viable product, but it's still an option that may be considered. What did you say about Surrey Hills? I can't remember.
One of the clerks told me Surrey Hills can become quite expensive because they charge them £500 for an email, and then I haven't really got anything.
Okay.
This is the LCD advisor, Roger Taylor, but Harrington's were really helpful, and they're the ones that gave me the information that we could have an agreement rather than a lease, whereas the other two just priced the leases.
Okay.
Sorry, Danielle, what did you say about quite cost of an email from
I
someone?
think they charge 500. I think it's £400 or £500
That's
for
about
some
standard.
advice and an email.
It's about standard, is it?
Yeah.
I must remember that.
Business.
Yeah.
I must
He's on
remember
board.
that. Yeah, it's a good idea, isn't it? It's always
Even I charge my customers £2.50.
Okay, so
Remember that.
we've got to have the leases, we've got to have the agreements. There's not a lot we can do about it. Harrington's appear to be the best. Danielle struck up a very good workmanship relationship with them.
They're local, aren't they?
Yeah, so we need a proposition that we use Harrington's, Surrey Hills or Wellers Lane. Wellers Law Group, yeah, Wellers Law Group.
Sorry.
Harrington's.
Harrington's?
Yeah, Harrington's.
Yeah, all in favour of Harrington's? Okay, we'll leave that to Clara to sort out.
Yeah.
In your spare time. Yeah, in your spare time. Yeah. I don't charge the press anymore. Okay, 13.8, to note the tennis club have paid the rent from 2022 to 23 and 23 to 24, and I don't understand what the annual rent review is for. Is that they're going to have an annual rent review?
They've asked, that's where I was trying to find it anyway. They asked about when we have an annual rent review, whether or not we can sorry, I was trying to find it.
Is
If
that
we
something
can
we should
keep it,
consider once?
whether or not we're going to keep it the same or not, basically, the rent.
Is that something that Harrington's can advise on when would they do the lease?
It should be kept out of the leases, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it'll have to be kept in the lease, won't it? There is a nominal rent, isn't there? It'll have to be in it. And whether or not it needs to be regular.
What's your request that we keep it the same if we have an annual review? Because we don't do it. In all of my time sitting in meetings, as well as being the councillor, there's only ever been one review.
I think it's
But that
at
case.
70 at the moment.
Yeah, 75 tennis clubs.
70. We'd be grateful if you could agree to an annual rent review as follows. The rent will not increase by any more than the published consumer prices index announced in the month prior to the issue of the invoice. That's what they're asking.
Well, that'll be in the lease. That should
Be in the lease.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll seek a little bit further advice
yeah,
when we do this.
okay.
So you further advice. From Harrington's.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. Right. For information, 14. The annual parish meeting will be held on the 9th of May. This will. I did have and I forgot to bring it with me.
Sarah says that's the day after
It's
the
Friday.
Yeah.
Very good. So it means you're out twice.
It was going to be.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be a very busy weekend. It's my son's 21st on the
Yeah.
and then my wedding anniversary on the Sunday. So yeah.
Good week.
I'm going to be, it's absolutely going to be shattered.
Yeah, he's going to come.
Yes.
Okay.
Papers and everything.
Right. The clerk will do an agenda. The clerk will do an agenda for the the annual parish meeting. Okay. And there will be a by-election in June, date to be confirmed. Yeah, that's good. 15, correspondence. Email from a resident regarding benches.
You haven't done. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so requesting
Yeah.
3-seaters rather than 2-seaters. Bus stops.
I did see some.
Yeah, it's requesting 3-seaters rather than
Yeah.
2-seaters.
Sorry?
3-seaters by the bus stop.
A 3-seater by the bus stop.
That's what it was requesting, yeah.
Okay. Well,
It makes sense, really, in a way, but to me makes sense as well.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, first to last week's meeting with a line in Welcome News about the benches. Going to just make the following observation: with the council will replace the Cove and the Circle bus stop benches with 2-seater benches and put a 3-seater bench elsewhere. As a regular bus user, could I suggest that the bus stop get the 3-seater benches? This is at the Circle, or is it the
And the bus stop, and the
Cove.
and the Cove?
And the Cove.
Is there room for a 3-seater at the Cove?
Well, technically there is, but we've got 2 of each, that's where we want.
Okay, fine. Okay, well, I don't have a problem with that, so that's fine. Yeah, we can put them. They're quite big and they're quite heavy.
Well, no, but if we put the 3-seaters there, that means 2-seaters are going where we initially wanted. It's complete reversal of where we first suggested the 2 and the 3-seaters go.
Well, we did want the 2-seater at St Peter's and a 2-seater or a 3-seater at the Circle and a 2-seater at the Cove.
I thought it was a 2-seater at the bus stop and a 2-seater at the Cove.
Right.
The 3-seater at St Peter's.
I don't think you get the 3-seater on there.
I don't, yeah, I think, because I was thinking
There's
the
not enough
size,
room.
didn't I, Steve, and that, if you know the size of a 2-seater, Jeff, and that,
Well,
that
I'm
plinth,
not
is, I can't get it out there, I can give it you afterwards, and it was 1,600 and something.
1,600, yeah. Well, the
1630 was it? Or
the
something?
3-seater's nearly
Long.
19.
Right,
And-
okay.
Yeah,
It's
well,
not
I'll
easy.
tell you what it is afterwards
Yeah.
and that.
Okay.
They're not flimsy. They're not flimsy benches. They're made out of 3x3 teak, and I see no screws in them. They're all pinned and doweled, and they're really heavy. I can tell you, I can't move them, and I've got to put a stamp on them somewhere. I don't know how I'm going to do it here, but I can't lift it. So we won't have to worry about them being pinched or anything. That's good. Okay.
Sorry, what's that?
So
Just leaving it as it is.
Well, we'll try and accommodate it.
We try and
in
put
size.
what we try, but it just depends on certainly how much room we've got to put it up there, how much concrete we need to put it. It's got to be bolted down. If it can be done, it'll be done. If not, it'll be a 2-seater.
And if the people are slim, then they'd probably fit 3 people on a 2-seater.
And if there's more than 3 people waiting at the bus stop.
The 2-seater seat
Sit on the laps.
is that wide from front to back.
Yeah.
You know, you need to be 7 foot tall for your feet to touch the floor. They are very big, but they're very good. Okay, email from the FRA regarding dish grant. Can we take that one in just a minute, Chris?
Absolutely, yeah.
Email from resident regarding bins left on the pavements. This has been reported. I've reported this, and I believe Ian and Andrew have had some correspondence between each other.
I think Andrew has been bashing his head against the wall now for well over a year. Nothing changes.
Yeah, they seem to take the bins out of where they are, which is right next to the road, and then they just chuck them back on the pavement.
Yeah.
So that's
Can I say, I mean, what Ian says is correct, and the same thing happens at my house. Overall, Biffa do a very good job. I get very few complaints about rubbish and recycling collections. They are very good. The vans are equipped with CCTV and various other devices, so the officer I deal with will be able to see for himself from the cameras as to what's been happening, and is not denying it. But at the last count, he was arranging a discussion with the round supervisor, and I'm still waiting to hear the outcome of that. In the meantime, I have taken this up with a councillor who sits on the Joint Waste and Recycling Committee, joint committee with Wielden, in the hope that it can go on the agenda for one of their meetings at the much higher political level. So I have done that, but I am still hoping to have a satisfactory reply from the office.
All I would say in that, and Andrew's already made the point back to me in that from a previous email, that he doesn't, or somebody else decides what hours they work. But I've actually noticed down where the dump is near Glyn Gap, guys finishing their shift last week at 1:30. Now the assumption being that if your bins are out by 7 o'clock in the morning, when they're asked to be out, that's the time they start. 7 o'clock to 1:30 to me don't really constitute a day's work.
Oh, I don't think that's right, is it? Because to get to the road, they've got to get to the site and pick up the van and the lorry and then go wherever it's going. So they're going to be starting at 6 o'clock at the latest.
Well, are they then, or do they leave the yard at 7 o'clock to actually start work?
Well, I don't know, but I mean they go.
But what I'm saying is that's not a full day's work, is it? 7 to 1:30.
Depends what their
when they're
terms of
getting out.
employment.
Well, they can't be doing the job and that because they're leaving bins all over the pavement. And the fact that Andrew has said that he thinks Biffa's really good at that, he doesn't get many complaints. Is that because people just don't complain like I do? I'm sick and tired of my bin being left out in the middle of the pavement. People, disabled people, blind people, ladies with wheelchairs, or men with not wheelchairs, prams, and sorry, Steve, but people with prams and that. And I specifically built a little enclosure and that for my bins to go in because they get blown over in the high winds. Now we've had stuff blown down the street before when it's been left out, and they don't pick that up. They just pick the bin up and empty what's left in it, and the rest of it just blows about. It's just, to be honest with you, and that from my point of view, and I've seen this for over a year now, it's just pure laziness.
No, I have to say the ones that deliver to us are brilliant. Actually,
I have to admit, they start at basically near the top of Battery Hill, it's sort of cut off at Battery Hill. They will be collecting bins out before 7 in the morning.
Mm.
They pass my house normally about dead on 10 past 7. But at the top of Wakes Lane, I don't know if Chris has got a different suggestion, all the houses near me, the bins are put back on. I leave mine on the pavement and it's put back on my drive.
Well, this doesn't happen, like I said, and that if you go around the circle and that on a winter, it doesn't matter, and that the crews are different all the time, and that they swap them about. But even on the circle where Andrew lives and that, they get left out, and up Shepherd's Way, they're all left out on the pavement. Some days they might put them back on the grass. But as I said, I built a special enclosure and that right next to the curtilage is the word they used last year, rather, on their website, of your property, which is the boundary of your property, and they leave it out the pavement from there to there. It's only a minor thing, but why can't they do it?
Well,
I've asked them and they said we're not obliged to.
I just think in light of what the information that the council writes an official letter to them as well. Yeah.
I did email Tracy at Robert and she said she would speak to the contractors as well.
Okay, well, we'll wait to see what comes back from the contractors. No problem.
It's best done through Rother, because Rother supervises the contract with Biffa.
Right, thank you, Andrew. That's it. We've got reports from 16, reports from councillors. Reports anywhere?
Have we dealt with 15B?
No,
no, we're going to do that. Oh, sorry, yes, I missed that one out. Yeah. You doing that, Dick? Go on, Dick.
Well, I'm just saying, we haven't really done the 40 mile an hour zone, but you know about that.
Yeah.
Well, there's a correspondence in from the FRA regarding the dish grant. I'm quite happy if the chair of the FRA wants to read out what he sent in, or I can read it out.
I'm happy to do so. Chair's discretion. Yes.
You asked for us to read it out, so
well,
it's entirely up to you.
All out.
Well, I think it all is either all or nothing, Chris.
Okay, yeah, please do.
Do you want me to read?
Yes.
Right. So the FRA wrote in and said, in reference to the dish grant rejection, we would like to thank the Parish Council's Grant Committee for their careful consideration of all the grant and donation applications. We assume that all the other applicants met the criteria in full. Unfortunately, a few assumptions were made by the Grants Committee in respect of dish which are inaccurate. 1. The FRA committee have not at any point stated they would underwrite Dish use of finances should there be a shortfall. They accepted Dish in a way similar to the parish council accepted the War Memorial Steering Group. That is an umbrella to hold funds, provide insurance cover and, if necessary, support and information. 2. The Dish attendees are not always able to donate towards the cost of the refreshments or the hire of the hall to provide them with a warm, safe space where they may meet and have a hot meal. For some of our attendees, this is their main hot meal of the week. 3. It was stated at the October Council meeting and recorded in its minutes, a Dish committee would be formed and a constitution written along with amended policies which have been in place since the beginning when it was ran by the parish council. 4. It is therefore inappropriate to use the FAR accounts to decide whether Dish is deserving of a grant. We would like to apply to the parish council for a donation under section 137 to show their support, which they published in their Christmas newsletter for this important community project. And section 37 is an expenditure. Sorry, S137 is an expenditure that may be incurred by a parish council, which could include donations to charities. A council might make a decision to donate to a local charity that provides service of benefiting the local community, grants for a local club, supporting youth, senior citizens clubs and other groups that offer beneficial services or activities to residents, and awards or prizes for local competitions, perhaps to encourage a community spirit, art or environmental awareness. I don't know if many of you read up, councillors have read up on the S137. It's capped at a new limit of £11.10 per elector. I haven't exactly done my maths, but if you do it, that would roughly be 1,500 odd people at £11.10. However, our budget for it is only around about 2,600, I think it was, set. So a council never budgets what they could do. Well, I've never seen a council budget what they could do. Right, in response, Fairlight Parish Council will not discuss other applications in any detail. However, we would reiterate, as mentioned in the report at the last meeting, that not all applicants met the criteria. Rarely over the last 6 years have many applicants have met the full criteria, and it is a credit to this council and previous councils that a lenient stance has normally been taken when considering the grants. But also mentioned in our last report, this year we had £11,590 worth of applicants with a budget of only 6,000, so cuts had to be made. In response to comments of the accusations that the Grants Committee have been inaccurate or made assumptions, the Grant Committee does not accept this statement and would like